Hello, I'm Lee, and welcome to my sewing room. I finished quilt number 3 in my Make 6 Quilts Challenge. According to the schedule I set, quilt number 3 should have been finished by the end of May. I just made that deadline, but I had valid reasons to be a little behind schedule. In the beginning of May, I attended my niece's graduation party in Charlotte, North Carolina, and at the end of May, I had to have surgery. I put timestamps on the photos of the finished quilt to prove I'm still on track to make 6 quilts by the end of the year. This is how I made quilt number 3. For quilt number 3, I made some adjustments. I still used Fabric Cafe's 3-yard quilt method, but I used coordinated fat quarters rather than 3 1-yard cuts. I love the coordinated bundles available at fatquartershop.com. I chose the woven pattern from Fabric Cafe's Fat Quarter Quilting Fun. I chose a collection that was appropriate for babies. As with other Fabric Cafe patterns, fabrics are assigned to light, medium, and focus groups. First, I chose my focus fabrics and put them into labeled bags. Then I chose my medium and light fabrics. The instructions tell you how many fat quarters you will need for each group. I cut all the fat quarters to the measurements given. This got tricky with all the different fabrics, so I followed the directions carefully. When the pieces were all cut, bagged, and organized, I was ready to assemble the blocks. This quilt is made of 3 blocks familiar to most quilters. Block A is a solid block. Block B is a rail fence block. And block C is a 9 patch. I arranged the blocks according to the assembly diagram, then sewed the blocks and rows together. I wanted to do something a little different with the quilting, so I chose this stitch from the quilting selections in my machine. I think the stitch adds a homey touch to the quilt. Now I'm inspired to use more of the hundreds of built-in stitches on my machine. Fabric Cafe uses what they call an economy binding to keep the total fabric requirements under 3 yards. I really didn't like that binding, so I went rogue and cut wider binding strips. That required buying more fabric, but wider strips were easier to attach. I pressed one edge of the binding, then I sewed the unpressed edge of the binding to the quilt. I folded over the pressed edge to the opposite side of the quilt and stitched it in place. I was able to finish quilt number 3 in time to meet my self-imposed deadline. Notice the timestamp in the photo. Even though I did finish this quilt on schedule, I really need to give myself a break. Schedules are important, but the challenge is still supposed to be fun. I've got other projects planned before I start quilt number 4 in July, but I'm not going to stress if I go off schedule. On another note, my Facebook page was hijacked and I had to shut it down. Now I have no way to publicize my YouTube videos. So please subscribe to my channel to keep abreast of my progress on this challenge and my other sewing projects. Thanks for watching.